tuning in and continuing to tune in to this series. Tonight is election night, and so I decided to have several of my past guests who have been wonderful on to just talk about what that means. And so we'll be chatting about caring for ourselves, caring for community, and making change, and how that can all work together. Would each of you like to say a little bit about yourselves? Victoria, do you want to go first?
Sure. I'm Victoria. I'm a marriage and family therapist. I focus a lot of my time on working with relationships and helping couples achieve the love that they want and or helping individuals um, take care of themselves in new ways. Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah. Uh, Thanks so much for coming on again and being here. Meg, do you want to share a bit about yourself?
Hey everybody, happy voting Tuesday. Meg Evans, any and all pronouns work for me. Most quickly respond to they, them. I serve as assistant professor of educational leadership at the University of Memphis. Go Tigers. I study all things advocacy, activism, and resistance in higher ed, specifically around race, racism, and white supremacy. Just really light topics. With um, I also study women, trans, and non-binary collegiate athletes. So I'm actually at a women's soccer tournament right now. Um, so if you see anyone run behind me, just yell "Go Dogs" because I'm repping my alma mater. Yeah, but I'm excited to be with you all and just talk about our collective humanity and how we can show up for one another in a time that feels wildly complicated. And I'll name for minoritized people, it's never not felt wildly complicated. So maybe now more than ever, but glad to be in space with the three of you all and anybody else out there in the world.
Yeah, thank you so much for making time in the middle of the tournament. And Philip, would you like to share a bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm Philip Weber. I have spent 15 years working in tech in the Philly area, and I particularly enjoyed being an agile coach, like an organizational health expert and efficiency coach, all wrapped up into one. And recently, this last year, I've been helping heritage crafters, like single producer businesses, try and build online community. And family-sized businesses like Vita's. So that solo maker support, I tried to take the goodness from corporate efficiency and distill it down for the individual makers because they've only got one person to power everything. So that's been my focus.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. And thank you also to Susie, who is moderating the chat for us. Susie Evolutionary is a trauma informed astrologer and metaphysical provider who's just a lovely human being. And for anyone who doesn't know, I almost never introduce myself, but I'm Vita King Blanchard. Rooted Arts is my business. I do mindfulness coaching, and I'm really passionate about this series, Actualizing Your Authentic Self, to just show up and offer people different tools from different voices. A lot of episodes in the series have just a lot of different people, including these three amazing humans right here. Um, so so I'm going to start uh, by, or next, let's breathe into the container. Let's do a centering breath. So please just settle in to a position that feels comfortable for you right now. And if it feels comfortable, close your eyes and begin to follow your breath, simply following it. If anything comes up in your body, in your spirit, in your emotions, just notice and acknowledge it. And then return to following your breath. And at your own pace, you take one more breath. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Yeah. Okay. Also, right, I really didn't give that much information about myself. I have a master's degree in consciousness studies, and I've been a mind body spirit provider for professionally for 23 years. And I've been reading philosophy, religion, and involved in organizing protests and things for most of my life. So I'm just happy to be here and happy to be showing up in these ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we will be talking about questions that we've all looked at and agreed to bring to the table. Each of us will be starting off a question, but they're all discussion questions, just like normally in the series. So our first question is, how can we best contribute to creating a society filled with equity and mutual aid? And Meg, if you'd like to kick it off for us.
Well, I love this question, so thank you for letting me kick it off, right? And I think I kind of led into this even when I introduced myself, right? For me, I fully subscribe to the belief that, we're not singularly free until we're all free, right? And that, deeply, as Audre Lorde and many other Black feminist scholars and queer scholars talked about, everything is bound. Our liberation is inherently bound together. And even before we started recording, Vita, you were talking about the the idea that everything is connected, right? And I think that's really true in so much as in the back of your shirt talking about how there's enough pie for all of us, right? So
Well, it's
often
not pie, right?
oh, well, right. Or if there is, there's unlimited, right?
That's
I mean,
right.
the reality,
That's right.
like, we live, especially especially in justice-based movements, often we fight amongst one another and look for how to advance our own agenda, which is important, and I get it. And also, if we're not thinking in a deeply bound sort of way, none of us are gonna be free, right? And so I think one of my favorite things about facilitating and just getting to be in conversations like this is we can talk from our own perspective about what we need for ourselves to show up and what we ask for others to what we ask of others to show up for us, right? Because I identify as queer and trans, and the reality is I need straight people and cis people to show up, right? I also identify as white, so I need to be able to show up for my kin of color, right? And
Mhm.
so I have two kids that are in school, right? I need people who don't have kids still to care about educational reform and justice and gun control and right. Um, so it's really easy to say, yes, everything's interconnected. When I say it like that, it's like, well, obviously, right?
Mhm.
But I think we have to borrow in part a tenet from critical race theory that is around interest convergence, right? How can we advance what we're trying to do and bring others along with us, right? How do we pull as we climb, right? These are all things that make sense to us, and yet sometimes in a scarcity mindset, when there is the pie mindset, we forget to do it, right? So I think one of the best ways to start us talking about this question is to think how are we intersectional in our approach to justice and conversations, and how do we not have a zero sum mindset? How do we lean into our inner Gemini and let multiple truths exist, right? I'm a Gemini, I can say that, right? But um, how do we think about the fact that multiple experiences exist and we don't just shut folks down at one stop. I think it's easy to find a villain, especially today. All you need to do is turn on the news, open social media, as someone who they voted for, it's easy to create a villain, right? But if we're doing good equity-based, community-based, justice-based work, we have to move past that, right? And we have to say, how can we actually bind ourselves together to move forward in liberation? Not practical strategies, we'll get into that, I assume, but philosophically wise, it feels like so often we talk about either or, and we have to talk about both and, right? We have to live in the both ands.
Yeah, well, I
That's where
feel
I'll
like
start.
that's certainly the way that we pull people back,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That we can meet people with an open heart and say, yeah, come back.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be mutually supportive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's create something that works for everyone together.
Correct. And it doesn't mean that we can't hold people accountable. I think that's the T, right? Like, it doesn't mean if you harmed me, I could be like, oh, come on back, do it again. That's
Right?
delicious, right?
Right.
Oh, obviously not. Right. But I think there is a space in which we can hold people accountable when they say and act in ways that they're showing that they want to be better. Right. Because the reality is, if someone around racial consciousness, if someone held me to the 25-year ago Meg, the 2000 Meg, I don't even know if I knew I was white, right? I'm not saying that tongue in cheek, that's true, right? I don't think I knew I was white until I went to college. It started in 99, right? Like, oh my God, that is 26 years ago. Okay, that's fine. Nobody talk about that. Erase that. Right.
We'll
If,
take it out in
if,
post.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Philip. But right, if somebody froze me in time, right? If somebody who knew me in 1999, I probably said, did, felt, enacted in harmful, racist stereotypes, ways, beliefs, right? It went completely unchecked in me. And do I have it all figured out 26 years later? No, of course not. And I'm doing an enormous amount of unlearning and relearning in ways that are uh more mutually bound, right? That say, I care about folks of color, right? So, yeah, I think we are quick to freeze people in time and cancel them, right? Without giving folks grace to grow.
Mm.
Again, not saying that we can't acknowledge harm that's been done. We have a therapist on the call, like Victoria knows, right? But we have to give folks, like you said, Vita, the space for folks to come back to engage with us.
Yeah, Victoria, do you actually want to speak to that? Like, how do we
Yeah,
hold
there's,
people?
I love what you're saying, Meg, about like what's coming to mind for me as I'm listening to you. Two words, community and unity.
Mhm.
And like those two things, I feel like as a society, we've like lost significantly. And
Hugely.
those are the things that like encourage us to continue to grow. Like I know I have so many blind spots, but with someone being so fearful to come and tell me about my blind spots, how am I ever going to know? And the person that's going to tell
Hmm.
me about my blind spots is not going to be someone exactly like me, right? Like it's going to be someone different from me
Yeah.
in
Right.
order for me to have that. And it seems like the scarcity mindset makes us feel like unity, like we can't have it for whatever reason. Like it just, which I think is true. Like if I throw in the controversial word of white supremacy, that's what it says. Like, right, like there will be
Yes.
Someone on top of everyone else.
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah.
And like but yeah, it's like unity is what when we have unity, I love what Brene Brown says. It's hard to hate someone close up,
That's
like
right.
Mm.
to lean in, right? And when you lean in, I have people that I know that I can thankfully say were hardcore MAGA supporters. And I was like, what the heck? But like as I like leaned in just to understand, it took a lot, right? Because I'm like, as a woman of color, as a Black woman, like I have a lot of instant knee-jerk reactions of wanting to villainize, but it was someone that was a good friend. And so it's like, do I even know you as a friend? You know what I mean? Where
Yeah.
did I go wrong? However, like it was just good to like, okay, this is where I can practice what I preach with my clients all day long. I'm like, unity is where we can begin to like, okay, help me see what you're seeing that I don't see, and let me help you see what I'm not. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
anyway, as you're saying that, that's what's coming to mind for me is like just community and unity is what our society is desperately needing right now. But we can't, cancel culture is helpful. However, I like how it's more so accountability culture. Like we
That
can hold each other accountable while still showing love
that
and like normalizing, like, yeah, I F up all the time. Like I say some
hugely.
homophobic crap or I say some racist stuff and I'm Black. You know what I mean? Like, and like I get it. You know what I mean? I'm sure I probably misgender people or something. You know what I mean? Like, but when you have people that are lovingly like, no, this is the thing. Oh, thank you. Like,
Mhm.
and also being able to receive that
that
correction.
that yeah, seeing it as an act of grace and love, right? I think
Hmm.
I'm a critical scholar, right? And so I'm always critiquing things that people are like, oh great, here comes Meg gonna tell us what we're doing wrong, right? And that's not the tea. Like, yeah, I probably am, but for me it's out of a place of love, right? Like, if I love something, I should be the first to critique it because I want it to be better.
Yeah.
I'm a higher ed scholar, right? I love higher ed. I think it gives us, for many people, it gets them out of a homogenous environment. It gets them into a new space. They get to learn and grow. Their brains expand. Like, it's delicious. I love it. And you better believe that I'm the first to critique it and to say, what was it founded on? 1636, Harvard University was founded for rich, white, clergy, Christian men,
Hmm.
period. Right? Those roots still run deep. We have to critique it so we can make space for more to exist, right? That's not cancel culture, that is accountability culture, right? I love the way that you frame that. It's holding each other accountable in loving and thoughtful ways to move forward and not freeze them and truly give them the grace and space to grow. Because
Hmm.
if we've all grown, right? Hopefully, my goodness, hopefully, you know, since we left home or went to college or whatever, right? Hopefully we've grown.
Hmm.
Hopefully we found
Oh
ways to
yeah.
connect. I think I would add to your community and unity, I would add humanity because I think that's a
Hmm.
piece that we've lost, right?
Yes.
So
Um, we've
Susie just
lost the ability to just see each other as lovingly human,
Yeah.
which that seems like the bar is low, kids,
well,
but like,
what keeps coming up for me listening to the exchange is gentle parenting, which I like. I think is a beautiful example of how we hold people accountable with unconditional,
mm-hmm,
right? Because
Mhm.
children are still educated inside of gentle parenting. And I do want to call out that Susie added to the chat that she feels in certain spaces, uh, I feel in certain spaces, I see a lot of conflation of community when it's really unification of exclusionary practices.
Mm.
In those spaces, the accountability is much harder
Yeah.
to find. And then she went on to say it's education like this that could bring the awareness needed into those spaces.
Mhm.
But and I think she's reflecting what both of you have mentioned, like it is this feeling of separation. We're not all
Mhm.
separate entities, right? We are one organism that functions together. And and if we don't function together, then like any body, physical body that's not working together, if your body rejects an organ, then you go into critical failure, right?
Mhm.
And so when we reject a part of ourselves, we go into critical failure, we go into crisis.
Mhm.
And if instead, I think we can show up with, like, I love what I'm hearing, like the just like showing up with that, well, this isn't okay. Like
Mhm.
you really hurt Tommy when you showed up with bigotry in your heart. And so we need to go back and do some loving processing, right?
Mhm.
Little kiddo. You
Mhm.
know, I don't mean to sound condescending, but whatever version of that works for, each specific instance,
Mhm.
I think is how I want to show up in a way that, like you said, Victoria, honors who the person is because we're close up, and then expands on that. Well, this is what I see. Are you seeing this too?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a it's a brutal landscape out there for community these days, is my general feel. I know on my street in Philadelphia, we've been hosting more parties and getting to know our neighbors. Uh, and this was driven by fear in some ways, in that we listened to a podcast about the potential for civil war again, and it said, "Wow, you know what makes a great fallback to government rule of law? Like if that's not functioning where you are, then it's gonna be like your local community, like your street's gonna band together. It's like let's give a nod to organized crime. Like they've got their own shadow governance system. It's not the legal one, but like those are the
It's
communities that come
strong
together.
community.
It is,
Yeah.
They have each other's backs.
And
Yeah.
in Katrina, it was a huge thing that
Hmm.
like local gangs had their territory and they lived there too. And I think that's to me, I loved the abundance mindset. That's what I call it. Like the growth mindset is critical, but infinite growth is a problem. I've come to dislike that term. And I think abundance is crucial to not to avoid scarcity mindset, right? To know that there is enough for you and yours, to have more than enough for everyone. And we live in such a prosperous day and age compared to, especially with knowledge. Knowledge just multiplies our resources without requiring anything but finding it, and it's so available. I think the vulnerability, Brene Brown, oh my gosh, that speaks directly to everything that makes people be able to come together, right? Distance is in some ways invulnerability. And I think that people are desperate to protect some part of themselves for sure, and they will draw hard lines to feel better protected, and that you can only change people's mindset like that face to face. So when I was in Georgia with some people that I don't normally interact with, I made sure to hug Kent first when I saw him. I was like, you know what? I was like, it's great to see you. I haven't seen you in 30 years. I'm gonna hug you right off the bat just before you say anything. And we had a great conversation, but it's hard to talk about some of the stuff directly. And I think just showing up and engaging positively is all I got sometimes, but that's plenty.
And I just want to add context for our viewers because this is part of what we were chatting about before
Mm.
going on live, is that Philip was with someone that his family has known forever, who is a cousin, right? It's your dad's
Cousin's
cousin.
dad.
Yeah, who also is or was until recently a MAGA supporter. So
Yep.
um, so so I let's move into our second question, because I think we're kind of touching on it anyway, and um, and I'd love to. We're gonna move in. How can we support our hearts while fighting for the United States we want to live in?
Mm.
And so Victoria, if you'll kick us off on this one.
Yeah, I love this question too. I, let me tell you why I love this question. I think because of like my own personal family history of like coming into being dragged into America and and like now envisioning like a different America.
Mhm.
Um, One of the things that I love about Black culture is how we are good at protecting our hearts. Not all the time, but we can be pretty good at it. Um, Not saying that makes me an expert at answering this question. But yeah, so when I think about this, at least like when I put that, my part of my brain, my clinical brain on, I think of like boundaries,
Hmm.
self-care, and then like engaging in constructive action. So
Mhm.
when I mention like boundaries, one of the ways to just protect yourself is a lot of people are beginning to do this, limiting media consumption.
Mm,
Like we news is 24/7. Then there's one of the, I guess, positive things to come out of the administration is the tagline of fake news. But I mean, we already kind of knew that before.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, not all news sources are newsworthy, right? And then you have some of the news sources that is just purely just commentary, right? And so it's just wanting to just limit excessive consumption and try and have it be more along like the more factual base as well as to avoid doom scrolling. So that's like always the number one thing I encourage people is like just try and limit as much. Do not hide under a rock though, right? But like limit it. And so trying to not and consume it right before going to bed because you need
Mhm.
to have a restful night's sleep. That's part of the self-care aspect of things, as
Yeah.
well as maybe not consuming it as soon as you first wake up, right? But like having a specific moment of time where, okay, in the day, this is my like hour of getting the things I need, or an hour or so of checking the news feeds that I want to check.
Yeah,
Well,
staying in
it's,
touch.
yeah, go ahead. What were you about to say?
I was just gonna, yeah, agree. Staying in touch without getting consumed by it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then like with even with conversations, having some boundaries too. Like there are one of the things I'm working with a lot of folks on, especially right now, is like everyone has their limited capabilities of political conversations. Some folks have greater capability of being able to get into really intense political discourse without going at each other's characters, right? And some
Mhm.
people do not have that same capabilities, and that's okay. But know who those people are. And when you find, like, okay, with these people, I can get in deep political conversations with, sure, great, go there. And some people you're probably going to have to tread a little bit lightly with, but then there's also going to be moments where it's okay to push it a little bit. But you do have to know for yourself, like, okay, this is how I take care of myself in the meantime, right? Again, we want to make sure you're protecting your heart. It's a marathon, this fight that we're in. That leads me to like again with the self-care aspect, like first thing in the morning, mindfulness, exercises, relaxation. Same thing with before going to bed because we want to make sure we're getting adequate sleep and as well as physical activity is really great. Just making sure you're staying active. And just going outside, no matter what the weather is, just helps you get your mind off of the chaos of the world into some of the stillness that the earth can bring.
Yeah, and to connect to like something that's also very real, right? Like humanity is not the only part of nature in existence, and the
Exactly.
more that we can connect with all of it, the
Hmm.
better. And
Yeah.
and I love what you said about like knowing when to push and how much. Um,
Hmm.
and I just want to emphasize there, like there is so much value in planting seeds,
Yeah.
Hmm.
right? Like if we all, I know that that sometimes that I've experienced saying things that felt small that people brought back to me years later, and they were like,
Hmm.
this changed
Yep.
everything for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that. The seed planting is a way more helpful way of protecting your heart, right? Like you can still say the thing that needs to be said in a loving, caring way,
Hmm.
which
Hmm.
is helping, right? And then you can also have those people where they're ready for you to do the churning of the soil with them, right? Like
Hmm.
you're able to do that, but all of it still counts. And then the other thing I was thinking of is like engaging in constructive action when it comes to like the US we want to live in. It's
Hmm.
like focusing on what you can control. And like you guys mentioned, local community is like where we can start, especially right
Hmm.
now with the BS that's happening right now with the SNAP. Like we have so many food banks, other charities that are needing hands and feet on the ground to get these resources to be.
Money.
That's where you can help, right? And money,
That's right.
right? Exactly. Like
That's right.
your local community, you can do so much just by volunteering like one day,
Yeah.
Hmm.
especially right now. And then even like getting like your friends involved, or heck, if you don't have any friends, if you go to you will find your people there at those
Hmm.
volunteering places. They have a similar heart. You will find your people there, and you guys can do this regularly. And those are other people that you can connect with too, and that's a good way of protecting your heart. Um, as well as like setting realistic expectations. Sometimes people feel like they have to solve their entire community's problem, right? But in reality, like when you band together, find you do your part as well as connecting with other people that are also doing their part. That's more realistic, right? And you're still making a significant change. You even if you're like, well, I only helped one family, you changed one family's life. Like that's significant.
Yeah. That's very significant.
Yeah,
And every member of that family is going to go out and touch other people, right? Like
exactly.
nothing ends. It just echoes.
Hmm.
I do
Yeah.
think the ripple effect is so valuable about like good, right action. And like literally, if I was gonna have to choose between good and evil and I didn't have a stake, like right there, I'm like, wow, being good is just so much more effective. Like it's like being evil is such a waste. I was like, look how they're tripping each other, and then that guy fell down, and he's gonna spend how much time putting his teeth back in and getting on his feet. And, it's just wow. I mean, maybe that's why I became a collaboration coach, but like, you
Yeah.
know, I I agree. You have to flourish. I'll jump on for a second. So I just spent 10 days with my mom at the North Carolina State Fair, which is the third biggest fair on the East Coast. It's like 2 million people in 10 days. And she's a potter. So she doesn't make utility pottery, she makes art pottery, hand built, not on the wheel. And it's like bas relief. So, like, imagine the dragon coming off the pot slightly, Like, she's got one where the manta ring's wings are literally like real and off the thing, but it's still attached to the platter on the wall. It's so colorful. And of course, this is a colonial era exhibit. My mom's allowed in because she's a potter who's been doing it for like 38 years. But she's got glow in the dark manta rays and whale sharks and fairies and like, just like the whole everything. And they don't say anything. But like, it's fabulously colorful. And everyone who walks by, you treat with respect. And when people come, it's about the art. And so while I was sitting there in that booth for 10 days, talking to everyone who showed any interest and coming by and just being excited about color, like I could forget about all this. And I thought, wow, what a nice village I'm in. Because it's called the Village of Yesteryear is the exhibit. And it's like
Mm.
60 crafters I've known since I was 3,
Hmm.
right? Since my mom's been going, I've been going. And it's such a nice place and such good people, and everyone who comes in is someone you can talk to. And it was really rejuvenating, as we talked about, to like be in that company and be surrounded by such beautiful art. And the one thing about protecting your heart that I wanted to toss in, or maybe not protecting, supporting your heart, is I think there's like the artist's eye, and everyone has their version of it, sees really deeply. And sometimes that opens you up to the pain of the world, and you need
Mm.
to scale back when looking in some
Mhm.
directions on how deeply you project yourself into it. And I find sometimes I just have to go, you know what? 100 years ago, I wouldn't know about any of this stuff that's happening in the
Mhm.
world. I just have to forgive myself for not being able to do anything about it today. And like that forgiveness, even if I don't think I even should have to ask for it, giving myself forgiveness for what I can't do sometimes just helps ease the passage and keep me
Mhm.
positive. But like that's part of my sustainability is sometimes I don't use my whole, you know, creative vision to in the bad way, in the bad directions. So that was what I was thinking.
Love that. That is so wise. Like
Mhm.
about like the artist's eyes and what you see. And yeah, like it's such wisdom that you're saying. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and the acknowledgement that at different points we're going to have different availability
Mhm.
Mhm.
and we're going to need different boundaries in order to show up in the
Mhm.
way that feels safe, genuine, like comfortable,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Growing up in Georgia myself, I felt like um, I thought if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone else. But that felt radical at the
Mm.
time because you are asked in Southern culture to give everything you have for others. Like
Mhm.
hard stop. And so like that was something I had to like try and convince my friends of in high school. I'd be like, I don't think so. I think you have to be able to walk to take care of someone else down the road.
Mhm.
And they were like, maybe.
Well, we're trending towards talking about communities. So why don't we go into the third question, which is how can we best show up to nurture the communities, large and small, that we're a part of? And I do want to just say that Susie did comment and wanted to underline that that's the beautiful bonus when we're volunteering, and that finding your personal community within the larger communities. Yeah. Um, but so Philip, do you want to lead us off on this third question?
Sure. Sure. I also love this question that is for me to tee up. How can we best show up to nurture our community is just pleasing to my ears. Everything about I love all
Mhm.
those words individually and together. Large and small communities, I think that's the joy of learning that I've had in my professional career is like I first worked with my family. My dad's a potter too. And so we went to a lot of craft shows and I worked a lot of family business, period. I was selling stuff when I was like 8 at Renaissance fairs and it never stopped. So it was like born into retail pottery. Um, yeah, I know, right? Unusual. But I had that like marine quality teamwork in my family like how we did shows. Like we would pack literally tons of pottery into a van, drive it 7 hours, unload it, set up a booth, sell all day for 10 days, and then come home like 13 times a year, usually not 10 days. And that was small. And then I worked in corporate businesses and I had whole development programs, like 125 engineers across 20 plus teams, each team doing its own thing. Somehow that has to come together and make a product that's 6 teams big, but those 6 teams are across 3 different time zones globally. And they're like, so make this better. Like that was the command to me, and I've got my 4 local teams who some of them are doing that sixth, whatever. Like, how do you do this? And the answer is transparency, collaboration, data-driven decisions is clutch. And so having data and the erasure of data, which is happening today,
Mm.
extremely, extremely sad.
Yeah.
Like, they want to reduce us to, some people would like to reduce us to gut-based decisions. And the gut is a very powerful but localized knowledge, right? I trust my gut more than many people would like me to. Um, but you got to know its limitations and its limited knowledge, right? Like to me, I think everyone is, ah, let me pull myself back together to nurture community. So I think transparency of self is something that Vita's toolbox that she's helping people build is available to people from this podcast or live stream, like yeah, from this place that we have here that Vita has created and nurtures is its own community. It
Mhm.
is a community nurturing community, which is my absolute favorite kind. And it enables anyone listening, right, to be a better community member of all their communities. And everyone's in a huge overlapping multiple fields of communities all the time. And the question is, which ones are you going to show up for?
Mm.
And I think the core, if you had one simple directive, just find a place to give. If you can give, you're doing the right thing. And giving has this reflective positivity. Like when you give to someone, they shine and it shines like right back on you. And it can be so rewarding to just like go volunteer, like go give some time, go give some effort, give some money, give some thought to staying on top of things. That's not trivial. It takes time, effort. Sometimes it takes some of the love out of my heart to read about some of the garbage in the world, but I feel like I should be appraised so that I can be an ally when the moment comes. I think that's the other thing. If you don't know what to do, give. But if you do know what to do it and ask for support, right? Because if you're not doing it, it's probably because it feels huge and impossible. But if you talk about the hugeness, the impossibility, it gets divided. And if you talk to other people, you'll find there's more support and more energy available in your environment than it feels like. And you got to outsmart the gut in that way and find the best things around you and just tie in. So I say give, and kind of like if you do see a place, like do it, go for it, and your community will back you up. So that's the kind of 1-2 punch I would suggest, like one or the other, like give or go. So
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I'm just thinking about growing food now, like, and
yes.
yeah, like I love going and participating in community volunteer events. I love being a master gardener and having that opportunity. And I didn't have as much time this year to do as much as I wanted, but I don't know, put in something like 75 hours. And and I and also growing food is something that like we can all do to some extent to give to ourselves, to our families, to our larger communities. Like what a gift right now when food scarcity is being brought to the forefront for so many people. Because really, again, everything echoes out. So if it touches anyone, it's touching all of us, even if it just means for those who don't have to worry about the cost of food, that it does cost more, it's still affecting you, it's still impacting you. And for anyone who's on a tight budget, like growing for yourself.
Mhm.
And again, inviting your community to grow with you because having a shared garden space is like a beautiful way to get out into nature
Mhm.
together and experience being a part of nature, seeing the cycle of planting seeds, having things grow, putting your hands in the dirt and getting the mineral intake through your dermis, through your skin. Like all of that is just a beautiful part of what can happen when we come together and building communities and supporting each other.
Two things that each of you said, so kind of framed what I was thinking. The two things that I was thinking when you all posed this question was serve as a mirror and make space and make space and take space, frankly. Right. So the first one, serving as a mirror, Philip, you talked about reflecting, right? I think one of the biggest things we can do for our community is to reflect back to them their value and their worth, right? So many of our communities are being targeted and impacted, right? And I mean that both in identity-based communities. I work in higher education. There's a lot of talk about education right now, right? But what I can do in my communities is to reflect back the work that folks are already doing to one, give them permission to like breathe, right? Like, look at all this stuff you're doing. You don't have to solve it all in this moment, but also reflect back their beauty and worth,
Yeah.
right? When everything else is saying, oh, you're bad, you're not good. And that can be my queer and trans community. That can be, yeah, my like multiracial family community. That can be my academic community, right? That are all being targeted in different ways. I do advocacy for Pitbull, the dog, not the singer, right? Like, I mean, I am married to a Black woman. We have 2 Black children. I look like this. I study race and white supremacy. And to top it all off, I have a pit bull, right? So, like, what's not being targeted? Um, right. But to be able to reflect back to all those communities, their beauty, their value, their worth, their necessity, I think
Yes.
sometimes can be forgotten about, right? Because we're all trying to do the next best thing, right? And then something that you said, Vita, is like you were talking about physically making space, like to grow, right? But I'm
Yeah.
also thinking in the communities that we occupy, how do we use our access, use our power to make space for other voices? So even again in scholarship, you know, when I introduce myself, the scholarship I do, I want to give voice, space, and place to folks in the margins within higher ed, right?
Yeah.
So all this morning I was working on a study looking at the experiences of women collegiate athletes in NIL, that's name, image, and likeness, how they get money, and trying to just walk in. Um, trying to understand how far folks could stray from white hetero feminine ideals and still make their bag, right? Make money, right? Because who doesn't have a voice in this NIL conversation? It is Black women, it's queer and trans women, it's fat women, it's right, it's the folks that are in the margins. But what I can do in my scholarship, it's not going to change everything overnight, but in my little piece of the world, right, I can create space that brings their narratives to life. Right. And so if we can each do that within our own communities and then find ways to go back to our other questions to make those interconnected, right? If I publish something, how can you, Vita, in your circles, in your wellness circles, share what I've done, right? I do a lot of work around food insecurity and its combination with fatness and racism, right? We can talk about anti-fatness and racism, right? Like there can be those communities are different,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
But how can we create space in our own communities to bring other voices to the table, and not in a sort of like savior sort of way, like,
Mhm.
here, let me use this so you,
Oh
gross,
yeah,
right?
it's a good thing you ran into me.
Thank God I
You're
was here to
so
save you.
lucky.
Oh my
That
God.
could have been close.
Correct. Thank God. Right. But in our own spaces, to fill up a story about your mom and her pottery, and oh, that brought me so much joy. Just like
Yeah.
thinking of all these like these very traditional potters, right? And then your mom like, look at my, oh, I almost cursed on your show, Vita. Look at all my colors, right? And look at these wings, right? And the other potters are like, whoa, but she's carved out a
Yeah.
space and she is welcomed and accepted. And then you just saying, like, seeing these people in that particular community year after year, there's something so deeply beautiful about that, right?
Mhm.
Just like being able to show up over and over and say, yeah, I'm still coming with my colors and my wings, and my baby's coming with
Yeah.
me, even though he's grown as hell. But like, this is what we doing, you know? There's
Yep.
something really beautiful about that. That is, one, a mirror, and two, she has made the space,
Yeah.
right? And that community has made the space for her to show up, right? There's something
Absolutely.
really beautiful about that. Yeah, I think that goes back to how do we protect our heart and how do we nurture, right? I think those, I can't pull those apart.
Yeah.
Mm.
I was just adding a tidbit. One of the first ways we can start to foster more community is talking to strangers.
Mm,
Mm.
Like
Yes.
everyone in our lives starts out as a stranger besides like our immediate
Yeah.
family.
hmm
And the more that we begin to do that, the more like the world will feel small again. You know,
hmm
Yeah.
it'll be harder to all of the things that we do now. Put our phones down, talk to people while
That's
standing
right.
in line at Starbucks, or talk to people like wherever at the grocery store, wherever you're going,
Uh-huh.
just talking to strangers more
Hmm.
will help that
Yeah.
community
Yeah,
feel.
cut the distance.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I On the train ride back from the North Carolina State Fair, I talked with the guy who sat down next to me, the second person to sit down next to me. And after 2 hours of talking about Philly, because we were both going back to Philly and starting in Raleigh. No, he was a little down the line. I was like, uh, he was like, "Is there anywhere to hang out or you know anyone?" I told him some generic stuff, but then I was like, why don't you come to one of our block parties?" I was like, "But I gotta come clean." I was like, "It's gonna be me, my girlfriend, her husband, and their daughter. It's our house because we're poly and like we all live, And I'm like, and half the people who come to our parties are old poly friends. Like, we're not gonna hit on you. That's not the party, but like." Like that's gonna be half the crew. And he was like, I believe everybody deserves respect. He's like, that's
Hmm.
me and my wife. And I was like, I thought so. But, I was willing to be vulnerable and just open my heart. And I think that's something I learned from that
For sure.
community is to just like barrel in, like the heart damage passes. And I'll take a couple of broken hearts in my life to get all the joy I can crammed in.
Hmm.
And it was really nice to just talk with someone until I trusted him enough to invite him to, our block party and be like, come join my community then from
Yeah.
scratch. So it can be done. It should be done. Excellent advice.
Yeah. Lovely. Well, we're getting close to the time where I'm gonna share a practice. Do any of you have anything else that you wanna like emphasize, underline, or call out before we move into that?
I have one last thought.
Okay.
Okay, my mom asked me, what do we do? She's like, what do I do? She's like, things seem really tough and I want to help. And I can't see myself helping, but I want
Yeah.
to. And I was like, Mom, I was like, this booth that you're running at the state fair, because we were at the state fair during No Kings protest and my friends were
Yes.
sending me pictures. I'm
Yeah.
working this fair. I sent a picture of my mom in the booth back.
Hmm.
And, you think about that. Like, here's my friends in Las Vegas at this protest. Here's my other friend over here in this protest. And I'm sitting in a booth selling tchotchkes, luxury goods at least. And I said, Mom, you need to flourish in place if you don't know what to do. The exact same advice I gave everyone. I was like, flourish in place because when the world turns, there's always someone doing exactly what we need already, and it was useless until that moment, right?
Hmm.
Science is full of this, where it's like, well, I've been studying this thing for a million years and it's never been good for anything. Suddenly it makes GPS possible, right? Like, all these things, like suddenly this comes around and this is what saves us when the world turns. And so just flourish in place. And if the world turns to you, like seize it. But if it doesn't, flourishing is enough. And I think that's the new resistance muscles that I hope everyone is
Hmm.
practicing. And just practice every new resistance muscle you find because that's how we build the immune system that stops this from happening more.
Yes.
Hmm.
That's my bit.
Yeah. It's good. It's a good bit. Thanks for adding it.
Um,
Sure.
Um, so the practice that I'm going to offer tonight is a visioning practice. And so instead of breathing us out, um, I'm going to guide us through a space to just envision the world that we do want to experience. And I'm offering this as an example because it's something that we can all do every day. And visioning supports us in moving forward, knowing what the next indicated thing is, knowing what we're available for, right? Increasing that clarity. And also, it just gives us a break. It gives us the ability to relax into the possibility of what can be, which I think, like art, offers hope.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
So I invite you all to settle in to a position that feels comfortable for you right now. And close your eyes and tune back into following your breath as it moves in and out. Allow your imagination to drift, to move to someplace warm and comfortable. And allow the sensations, the experience, the sights of your perfect world, a world where you love living, love thriving, to all slowly fill in what you smell in a world full of joy, the sounds you hear, communities connecting, standing outside and enjoying a breeze or the sunshine or the trees. Allow yourself to just enjoy the experience of being in a world full of support and nurture, where everyone has autonomy over themselves, where you feel completely supported and able to express your heart. You simply know you are safe and loved, cared for and fed. Gently return your attention to your breath, knowing that at any time you can return to this practice, envisioning. As you're ready, begin to shift and then open your eyes. Right? It feels nice. And for me, like all of that is a part of what is in my world that I envision, right?
Mhm.
For each of us, it's going to have a little bit of different flavor, and that's all good. That goes back to that idea that diversity is what keeps nature healthy. That's what makes a healthy ecosystem. Um, Thank you all for being here with me. Thank you, Susie, for being in the chat.
Thank you,
And
Susie.
and I will call out too that Susie agrees pities are giant hearts with fur. It's almost like she knows dinosaur already.
My dog's name is Dinosaur.
Oh.
um, and yeah, I'm just so grateful. So I love me. I love you. I love us. I'll see you soon.
Bye, everyone.
All right. Thank you all so much.